Hey guys, welcome to another Rules Primer video. Today we're going to talk about Space Cadets, which is a cooperative board game for 3 to 6 players. Instead of going through the components and all that, I would just walk through a sample turn of the first mission, go through each of the different stations so you can kind of get a feel on how each of those works. And there are also some really great tutorial videos up on the Stronghold Games website for the game, or you can find them on Board Game Geek, that I recommend you watch. Hopefully this video combined with those will give you a good idea on how to play. Okay, so in Space Cadets, each player is assigned to one of the stations aboard a starship, one of the command stations, and then each station's duties are carried out through a timed mini game that's different for each station. So this is the setup for Mission 1. The spaceship will start on one space on this side of the board, and our goal is to explore each of these sectors, grab each of these crystals, and then jump out of the system. So as we move over on this side or up here, we'll flip over another space tile, and then we'll populate it with a crystal, an easy enemy, in this case, and a normal enemy. You can see up here we've got 2 easy enemies and a crystal, and then over there we've got a hard enemy and a normal enemy and a crystal. So we'll need to go explore each of those sectors and then jump out. So the first thing you want to do is assign each of the players to a station. The first station we're going to look at is the captain. The captain is in charge of the captain's log, which is basically a turn tracker, and he's also in charge of the sand timer here. So let's look at each of these phases of the game, of the turn. So the first one is the discussion stage. And in this stage, you're going to start here. It's going to be 3 minutes long. So you'll flip over the timer. When it goes down to the end, you'll flip it over again until you get to the end. During this stage, you're going to distribute the energy that was set up by engineering on the last turn. And then you're going to discuss your overall strategy amongst the crew. The next stage is the prepare station stage. You can see that it has a red border, which means it's not timed. And in this phase, you're going to set up each of the stations so they'll be ready for the action phase. Once that's all ready, you move on to phase 3, which is the action phase. This is going to be a 30-second phase, and each one of these stations is going to be doing their job at the same time. So Helm is going to be determining they're going to be determining the ship's course by playing these maneuver cards. Sensors is going to be pulling things out of a bag to determine, if they can get tractor locks and stuff like that. Shields is going to be laying out the shields tiles. Weapons is going to be loading the torpedoes. Engineering is going to be determining how much energy each station gets by matching up tiles. And then if there's a core breach, all the players have to work together to try to fix the core breach in addition to doing their regular duties. So if they don't fix the core breach, the ship blows up and the game's over. So after the timer runs out on that phase, you move to phase 4, which is resolution. You can see this is not a timed phase because it's got a red border. And in this, you're going to shields are going to determine, going to allocate their shield stuff, and then the other phases are going to do their things. These are basically things that resolving the effects of the action phase, basically. Next, tractor beam is going to get an attempt to lock on with the tractor beam, and then weapons is going to flick their discs to fire their torpedoes that they loaded. And then we're going to do enemy action, where the enemies and the Nemesis ship is going to move. And then if the jump station will get a chance to roll jump dice, either to attempt to jump or to improve their chances in the future for doing a jump. And then finally, if there's any damage, the crew will have a chance to repair that damage. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start with phase 3. And since these would normally be done all at the same time, I'm going to do them one at a time in the order they're here. So let's start with the helm station. Before we start helm, there's a special thing that needs to happen on the first turn. Since engineering didn't do their puzzle last turn, since there was no last turn, the engineer during phase 1 gets it gets 12 energy tokens and gets to distribute them amongst the stations any way they see fit. So let's just we'll give Helm, since we don't have any enemies on the board yet, we'll give Helm 4 of them. We'll give Jump 1. We shouldn't have any damage unless we, says we run into something. So we won't give damage control any. Sensors can get 2. Yeah, we'll go ahead and do it like that. So that the engineer is going to determine the location of those 12 energy before the start of turn 1. So now we'll start with the Helms station. Okay, this is the Helm station. The first thing the Helm is going to do during the second step, which is the prepare station step, they're going to take the energy that they got from engineering. So in this case, we got 4 energy, and they're going to distribute them between the maneuvers and the thrust. The maneuver will let us give us extra cards. Thrust will let us increase or decrease our speed. So in this case, we're at speed 0, so we need to get up to maybe speed 3. So let's put 3 tokens in thrust. Actually, we'll just get to 2. Now we'll do 3 in thrust, 1 in maneuver. The next thing they're going to do, still in phase 2, is to draw a number of standard maneuver cards equal to their current speed of the ship. Well, first we're going to move the speed of the ship up to 3. Current speed of the ship, which is 3, plus the energy in maneuver, so 1. So we're gonna draw 4 cards from the standard maneuver deck. Now we're also going to be able to use these special maneuvers, but each of the special maneuvers are going to have the possibility of causing the ship damage. So if we use fast left, we're going to roll a die, and if it's a 4, 5, or 6, we're going to take a hit of damage. And that's the same on all of these special maneuvers. I mean, it's not the same, but there's a chance of damage on all of these. But you can always use these no matter what your standard cards are. Okay, so now they're ready for the action phase. So let's begin the action phase. Now the Helm's going to turn over their cards and look at them. Okay, we got a fast left, got a fast right, a drift, and another drift. Now we're going to need to put a card for each of our up to our speed. So we probably just want to go straight. We could come on here. This is going to, we look down here, it's going to +1 to our speed. That might be dangerous, especially since it's heading into this thing. So why don't we do a drift, which would get us here, and then a turn left, then a turn right. That should put us up here. Oh, and time's up. So that's how the Helm works. Okay, next up is the sensor station. The sensor officer is responsible for getting sensor locks on targets or on crystals, which make them easier to hit or easier to grab with the tractor beam. They can use the sensors to scan adjacent areas and reveal other tiles on the board. Okay, so during phase 2, the prepare phase, the sensor officer is going to going to take their energy. In this case, I got 2 energy, and draw 2 cards from the deck. Now, if there were enemies on the board, I could designate the enemy as a target and put them, and up to 3 targets here, put their card there. Or if there were crystals on the board, I could do that. But since I don't have any enemies, I don't have any crystals, I'm going to put both cards under the sector scan. Let me move this up a little bit. Okay. So a sector scan only takes 1 point. So if I can draw out of this bag one of these matching tile that matches one of these shapes, then I'll get my point and I can scan an extra sector of the board. So let's see if we can do it. Ready? Go. Okay. Reach into the bag. This is a good time to do my usual disclaimer that I'm trying to teach you how to play, not how to play well. So okay, I think I've got one. Yay! I've still got some time on the clock. I can try for that little Tetris shape. Oh, running out of time. Did I get it? No, that one didn't count. And time's up. Okay, so that was during phase 2. Now during step 4, the resolution phase, I will resolve these points. So let's move on to the next station. Okay, next up is shields. Shields are going to protect our ship from damage, but they have to be reset every turn. And this is going to be, I think, a difficult one for me because I'm not a poker player. What we're going to do during step 2, you look at how much energy you have. I have 2 energy, and that means I draw 8 tiles. So I've drawn 8 tiles here, 2, 4, 6, 8, face down. Now, when the timer starts on phase 3, I'm going to flip those up and I'm going to assign them to various places on this ship display. So I can assign 3 here to the 4 port, starboard, and aft. And I can assign 2 here. The only restriction is that it can't be a pair. And then during step 4, the resolution phase, I'm going to look at I'm going to make poker hands basically out of the numbers on these tiles. These 2 tiles in the middle can be used by any of them. And there's a helpful display here. If I can get a pair, that's 1 shield point, whereas 2 pairs, 2 shield point, and so on. And then they're going to be doubled if the 3 tiles in the outer zone are the same color. There's going to be blue tiles and orange tiles. So yeah, let's try to do that. Okay, here we go. See, I got a 4, and a 2, a 5, a 1, 7, 4, 7. So one thing I can do is put the 7 and the 4 here, and then a 4 and a 7 here. That'll give us 2 pair on our front shields. Oh geez. Or we could just do this, put 2 here. The 2 there would give us a pair. And time's up. Yeah, I suck at this one. This is a tough one. All right, so in the next phase, we'll look and see how well I did. Okay, now we're on weapons. Weapons is responsible for loading and firing torpedoes at enemy ships. Now, right now we don't have any enemy ships on the boards, so I don't really think I can fire at anything, but in later turns, the weapons officer will become very important as the enemies arrive. So I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, just like there were enemies on the board. So weapons was allocated 1 energy point, so that means I get to draw 1 random torpedo tube card. Now this is going to be tough to do with holding the camera, but I should be able to show you how it's done. And when I flip over the timer, I'm going to take these pieces and try to fill in this puzzle. So here we go. Let's try it. And go. Okay, let's see. I can do that. Can do that. And then no. That. Hey, plenty of time left. Now, if I'd gotten 2 energy, I would have had 2 cards to fill in. So you can see, if you really want to fire more than 1 torpedo, you're going to have to hustle. But that's how that's done. So now in phase 6, the fire weapons phase, I would get to launch 1 torpedo. And we'll see how that's done on phase 6. Okay, last is Engineering. Now, I say last, but, and these would all be happening at the same time. This is another one that I might be terrible at, especially holding the camera. So what you do is during phase 2, the engineering officer is going to take the engineering tiles, shuffle them up, which I've kind of already done. So, and then draw 7 of them, keeping them face down. 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, see how it takes me long just to draw tiles. Okay. Now what's going to happen is we're going to, when the timer starts, I'm going to flip these over and I'm going to start lining them up. You can see each of them has these different icons on them. And then for each completed icon, that station is going to get 1 point of energy for the next turn. So I probably want to look and see, given the tactical situation, what stations do I want to make sure get lots of energy? If I'm being attacked by a bunch of enemies, I want to keep an eye out for the red weapons icon and that sort of thing. So probably not going to be able to do that this time. I'm just going to try not to suck too bad. But here we go. Ready? Go. Okay. Flip them over. Blue. Okay. I could give an energy there. Something like that. Something like that. Who's not getting any energy? Green maybe needs something. Can't remember what purple is. Okay, still got a little bit of time. I can adjust it if I need to. Yeah, I probably didn't need to give repair much energy because oh well, time's up. So that's what we got. And we will see in the next phase how well I did. Okay, I accidentally made a mistake that the last thing I said that during phase 4 we'd see how well I did on engineering, but actually the engineering points are distributed in phase 1 of the next turn, and since we probably won't be playing through a next turn, I thought I'd go ahead and go through that now. So you can see I got the jump drive has 1 energy, the tractor beam has 1, 2, 3 energy. The shields have 1, 2, 3. What did I miss? Weapons has 1. Shields has 1, 2. And so at the beginning, at phase 1 of the next turn, then I would distribute those on this engineering board. And then the engineering officer has the option to trade any energy 2 for 1. So if I decided that the tractor beam didn't need that much energy, I could trade in 2 of those for 1 in any other station. That's all done during the 3-minute phase 1 of the next turn. So that's the engineering. Since we don't currently have a core breach in process, we don't have to worry about the core. So we'll go on to the resolution phase, and we'll look at the shield resolution first. Okay, I really did a terrible job on this shield board. Hopefully we won't get shot at this turn or run into anything. I mean, at the very least, I should have thrown these other tiles on the board. If I would have put this 1 here, I could have got a bonus. But anyway, let's see what we got. So for the front shield, we have a pair. That's not very helpful, but that's what I'm going to put. So we'll put one of those. A pair gives me 1 shield point. So I'll put that there. Then for the starboard shield, all we have is a pair as well. So I get 1 point there. And get 0 there and 0 there. So now that's how our shields are set up. I think you want to give this station to somebody who plays poker or Yahtzee, at least. All right, so let's move on now to the helm resolution. Okay, helm resolution. Again, this is part of phase 4, and this is not timed. So first, the ship is going to drift forward 1 space. Then it's going to do a fast left. So that's 1 over turn like that. So I don't think I was actually focused. So 1 over, 1 over. See, you can already see I screwed this one up too. I don't know what I was doing. Now a fast right, so it's going to go up there and up there. So there's another position I wouldn't be good at on a starship, apparently. And that's it for helm resolution. You may have noticed I did move through this nebula, so I need to roll a die. And it's a 1. On a 1 or 2, one lock is lost. Since we don't have any target locks, to lose, but you can see it could be dangerous to move through those nebulas. Although if you roll high enough, then an enemy lock is lost, so that's cool too. So anyway, that's helm resolution. Let's do the sensor resolution. Okay, now it's time for sensor resolution. You may remember I got one target card correct, so I get 1 point, which is enough to do a sector scan, which you can see here's a chart of the point cost, so a sector scan. So I'm going to draw the bottom tile. Well, first I'm going to pick which one I want to scan. I think I'm going to scan up there. I'm going to draw the bottom tile, and I can't rotate this in any way. I'm going to place it there. And now I'm going to flip these cards over, and I'm going to place these on the board according to the scenario description. Okay, you see, so I've drawn a vampire and a flex spider and a purple crystal, and I've placed them on the board. I could have put them, I had to put the crystal in the middle, then I could have put the enemies either here or here, so I've chosen there. And I leave the cards up here so that the sensor officer can use them to get locks on those enemies and on that crystal in a later turn. You can see this map is going to be tricky for the navigator because each one of these arrows are going to increase the speed in the direction that it's pointing. So getting in there and getting that crystal is going to be a little difficult, I'm afraid. Okay, so that was phase 4. Next we're going to do phase 5, in which the tractor beam station is going to come into play. Okay, this is the tractor beam display. Now at the beginning of phase 5, I can announce, the tractor beam officer can announce a target, which can be either an enemy ship or a crystal. Now to announce something as a target, we first have to have a sensor lock on that target, and we don't have sensor locks on any of these enemy ships or crystals. So I can't have a successful tractor beam attempt this turn. However, since I do have 1 energy in the tractor beam, I can still turn over tiles. That will let me know where the tiles are, so that next turn that will give me some knowledge that I can use to get a tractor beam lock on maybe that crystal. Now underneath these tiles is going to be a shape and a number, and if I match 2 shapes, I get that number of points to use, and depending upon the range of the target and some other factors, it will let you know how many points you need to get a successful tractor lock on that target. So for each energy that you have, you can flip over 2 tiles. So I'll go ahead and spend that energy and flip over 2 tiles. So I get a red triangle and a red triangle. Okay. So this would have given me some points to use for a successful lock. Okay, so I would have had, since I got a match here, I would have got 3 points to use against a lock, which the number of points you need for a lock is equal to your current speed, our current speed, which is 3, plus the range to the target, so that's 1, 2, 3. So I would need 6 points to get that crystal. So I wouldn't have been able to get a lock anyway, but if I'd had more energy, I could flip over 2 more tiles. So since this was an unsuccessful attempt, I'm going to flip those back over, but I need to remember that those corners are matching so that next time I can get those 3 points. And all of the crew members, since they're not currently doing anything right now, it's just the tractor beam, can help the tractor beam officer remember where those things are, so that next turn they can flip those over and get a lock on that crystal. Okay, now it's time to fire the weapons. Okay, I should probably mention that that last turn, the tractor beams, and then this one, the fire weapons, are also timed, 30-second turns. I didn't flip over the timer on the last one, but in a real game, you should remember to do that. So next up is the weapons. Now, you remember when I loaded the torpedo tube, there weren't any enemies on the board, but now there are some enemies. So I get to pick one of these to fire at. I'll probably fire at the vampire, just because it's got a cooler name. The range to the target is 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. So I'm going to take my torpedo disc and put it at the range 4. Now, I only loaded one torpedo, so I'll only get one shot at this. These numbers are the amount of damage that you're going to do if you don't have a lock, if you have a lock, or if you have a super lock. And I do not have a lock, so I'm going to be looking at these gray numbers. And I suck at dexterity games, so this is not going to be pretty. Here we go. Hey, not bad. I did 1 point of damage to the vampire. Okay, looking at the vampire that I just shot that torpedo at, he has a shield value of 2, so I need to do 3 damage to him to even get past his shield. So that torpedo didn't actually do anything, but still, at least it remained on the board. That's pretty good. All right, next up is the enemy action, the Nemesis step. Okay, one thing I forgot to do before we start the enemy action is the Nemesis marker needs to be placed on the space on the track, and that's indicated in the scenario setup, and I should have put it on the 5 at the beginning of the game, so I put it on 5 there, and that will happen at the end of we'll move the Nemesis marker at the end of this phase. Okay, so now the enemies are going to move. We can start with either one, but we'll start with the vampire first. Since we fired on the vampire, it automatically gets target lock. So it gets turned over to its locked side, which means it knows we're here, and it's going to come and get us. So next it's going to move. Its move value is 2, so it's going to move here and then here. It wouldn't move there because it would have to take damage. And then next it's going to fire. Its range is 3, so it's within range. So it's automatically going to hit us for 1 damage. And that's going to go on our left shields, which we have nothing on our left shields. Okay, so since we took damage from the vampire that was not blocked by our shields, we're going to draw a damage card. Now, these damage decks were created at the beginning of the game. This is going to hit our port side, so we're going to draw from the port. And structure, no effect. Okay, that's good. So we weren't damaged by the vampire. So next up is the Flux Spider. Now the Flux Spider is going to try to get a lock on us first. So it's going to 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces away from us. So we're going to roll a die. And if it's 4 or higher, he gets a lock. And he does not. So he doesn't know we're here yet. So that means he's not going to move and not going to fire on us. The Nemesis is kind of like a round tracker. When it gets down to the 0 space, the Nemesis is going to come onto the board and he's going to basically murder us if we don't get the heck out of Dodge. So right now we're on the 5 space, so we just move it down to the 4 space. So every round we're going to move that down until it gets to the 0. Then the Nemesis is going to come onto the board. So that's that turn. Next up is a 30-second time turn for the jump drives. Okay, next up is the jump drives. Now when your mission is complete, you have to activate the jump drives to leave the system and win the game. Now of course we're not ready to jump out of the system, we don't have any crystals or anything, but it's important to activate the jump drive. As long as there's 1 energy, you can still activate it each turn. And because to jump out, you have to roll these 5 dice and get the same number on each dice. You have to get 5 of a kind basically, which is going to be very difficult. So you want to try to claim these cards. If you claim a card, it moves over to the active side. And these cards will let you flip them over and let you change dice and re-roll them and stuff like that. So it's important to at least try the jump drives every turn so that you can get one of these cards. So this is a time step. I'm going to have to go and flip the timer and roll the 5 dice. Now, if you had more than 1 energy, you could spend it to either re-roll or to add time. And if I had active cards, I could flip them to change these dice. But I don't have either one of those, so I just get to roll them once. And now I can see what I got. Let's see, it's 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So for sure I could take this or this. because the total is less than 15, the total is less than 12. I didn't really get anything else. 1, 2, 3, 4. I did get 1, 2, 3, 4. Is that one? No, I don't see that as one. Okay, so probably what I'd want to do is take this one and move it over to my active side. And so now on the next turn, as long as I have 1 energy in the jump drive, I can roll it and either add 1 to 2 dice or add 2 to 1 dice. So that will help me claim better cards and eventually get 5 dice of the same kind so that I can jump out of the sector. So that's the jump drive. Number 9, phase 9 is repair. Okay, we were lucky on when we took damage because we got a structure card and it didn't have any effect. But most of these damage cards have recurring effects that stay out and affect the entire crew. And so during the repair step, you can try to get rid of those recurring effects. Now, what you do, you can actually attempt to repair even if you don't have any energy. We have 1 energy in this case. But you flip the timer, and then you turn over the top card of the repair deck. If it's just a green card, it goes over here to success. If it's red, it goes into failure. If it's like this, then we're going to have to roll the die, which of course I don't have the die handy. Like this, we're going to roll a die. A 6, it's actually a repair, which is good. Now I can keep going. If the time's not up, I can keep going and do it again, which that's good. I can keep going. Oh, this is bad. I could roll it. A 6. Oh, it's still good. And so when the time's up, then I see how many red ones we have, how many green ones. The red ones will actually cause damage to the ship. And the green ones will repair, will let us discard one of these ongoing damage cards. Now, you can spend energy to cancel the effect of a card. So say I drew this card, put it over here, but rolled the 1, so I had to put it over there. I could spend this energy to discard this card. Then I could choose to do again if I wanted to, or stop at any time. So you can see the repair station lets you get rid of these damage cards, but it can be dangerous too, because if you can actually end up damaging the ship as you try it. So it's definitely safer if you have some energy set aside for the repair station. Okay, so that's it. We've gone through a whole turn. Now the timer would go back up here. We'd have another 3-minute discussion, and then we'd go through it again. So that's Space Cadets. There's a couple things I didn't cover, like core breaches, the Nemesis ship, stuff like that. But hopefully this has given you kind of an idea on the feel of the game. Now, it might seem like a lot, but keep in mind that at most, each player is only going to be responsible for 1 or 2 of these stations. Unless it's a 3-player game, then some people are going to have 3 stations. But they're always going to only have 1 station, in this one, that's, well, actually, for a 3-player game, you flip this over, and it's slightly different. But they're only going to be responsible for 1 or 2 stations usually, and most of these are going to be happening all at the same time. So it may seem like a lot in this presentation, but during actual game, it's not so overwhelming. So that's Space Cadets. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.